everybody. Suzanne Hacker here, your vacation rental business coach with Welcoming Wow and Spectrum Friendly Vacations. And I am super excited today to be interviewing Stacey St.John. She's pretty well known in the short-term rental industry, but I really want people to find out from her directly who she is, what she does, all the wonderful things that are available through Stacey St.John and her website and her group. So Stacey, if you could just take a couple of minutes, introduce yourself, tell everyone about all the wonderful things that you're involved in and that you provide, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. This is super fun. So I so appreciate it. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Stacey St.John. I actually started in the short-term rental world in September of 2020, so not all that long ago. Today, as far as my short-term rental portfolio, I own 10 short-term rentals. I manage another 27 or so as of today. And then I actually just purchased a large piece of land, 100 acres to be specific, and I am building a resort in Hocking Hills, Ohio. Outside of my short-term rental portfolio, I have the distinct pleasure of helping women in the short-term rental space level up their game and be able to, get plugged into resources. I don't know, I would call it pretty much the best Facebook group on the globe. Okay, so it's called Female Short-Term Rental Investors. It is chock full of 42,000 women from all around the world who eat, sleep, breathe, and talk short-term rentals each and every day. It's so fun to watch all the conversations going in and watching women actually help one another. It is so rewarding. I also have a podcast called the STR Sisterhood. Real life stories from real life women in the short-term rental industry. I also have an online community called the Short-Term Rental Society, where we have weekly meetup covering all different aspects of the short-term rental business, where we share peer-to-peer learning and again, get people plugged into education and resources. And then last but not least, I have a mastermind and mentoring program called the STR Success Accelerator to help teach women how to launch, manage, and grow a profitable short-term rental business.
Awesome. Thank you. So all the things. So what is the best place for people to find you and all those resources?
Probably the best place is to go to my personal website, which is just staceystjohn.com. That's STACEYSTJOHN.com.
Awesome. And all the links to the Facebook group and sisterhood and all those are right there, so they can easily plug into whichever one is most appropriate, get training, get mentoring, all that fun stuff. So one of the things that I really appreciate is the fact that you are geared toward women, and it's specific, it's about women helping women, and really kind of bringing that together. I know, once in a while, because I've been in your group now, maybe a couple of years, there's just often so much good conversation that happens in there with questions that are asked, people helping others or giving advice. But I find there's a lot of good questions that happen that, I'm in there, I'm learning, I'm participating and loving, doing that. Thank you for starting that. And I didn't realize that your journey just started in 2020. So this is fabulous. You have been eating, sleeping, and breathing short-term rentals for 3 years.
It doesn't feel like work. I absolutely love what I do. So, it's such a treat for me, honestly.
I was so excited that you purchased property and are starting a resort now as well. Are you able to tell us any little sneak peek or information about your resort?
Well, so Hocking Hills, Ohio is a regional vacation destination about an hour southeast of Columbus. And it is very much for folks who are nature lovers. There are all kinds of, obviously caves, and there's a state park there, all kinds of hiking, zip lining, ATVing, horseback riding, things like that. A lot of folks go there to rent cabins and be able to go hiking. The 100 acres that we just purchased and are building a resort on, are chock full of just beautiful rolling hills, hiking trails already cut in. We are building cabins there, as well as planning some glamping, pods, and just really, really fun stuff. But I think most importantly, providing people the opportunity to get away and make memories together. That's one of the reasons why I absolutely love this industry is, when I bought my first short-term rental, I was looking at this from an investment standpoint and a way to, be able to accelerate my retirement. What I quickly discovered was there is something so rewarding about being a very small part of families being able to make memories together. And that's something that I absolutely adore. So it's going to be a really exciting project. It will probably be a few years before it's done, but stay tuned. I'm sure I'll be sharing lots of updates along the way.
So you gave us a little glimpse already into why you started into short-term rental ownership with fast tracking a little bit your retirement and the investment and things like that. Is there anything else that really drove you to get that first place?
My husband and I invest together, and prior to us being in short-term rentals, we were, investing in long-term rentals. Have my real estate license. I had done wholesaling and flipping and all the things. And when COVID hit, there were a variety of eviction moratoriums popping up everywhere. My husband and I were finishing up a flip, and, we got to thinking, why do we want to buy another long-term rental right now when we have no recourse? And so our philosophy was, well, let's buy a short-term rental so that at least people have to pay money in order to get the keys, right? Did a bunch of research. We did about 6 months worth of learning before we ever bought a property. And the learning hasn't stopped since then. I learned something new each and every day,
Give me your best 2 pieces of advice for somebody who was wanting to jump into the business fresh.
One of my best pieces of advice is, you just said the word business. There are really 2 different sides. There is the real estate investment side. So you can own a short-term rental without having to operate it. So there's the real estate investment from an ownership perspective, or maybe in addition to, you also operate a 24/7 hospitality business. And so I think the first piece of advice is just having someone understand, hey, I can own a short-term rental without having to do the day-to-day. Well, heck yes, you can. And you can also operate the day-to-day without actually owning a property. So that's a different, business operational model. You can do both. You can help other people post their property, or some people start out doing rental arbitrage. There are different operational models. So don't necessarily just think that you have to do everything all together. You can own the property, you can get resources to help you manage the day-to-day, and vice versa. And then I think the second piece of advice is still along those same business lines, is that regardless of what operational model you choose for your short-term rental business, you still have to treat it like a business. So you want to make data-driven decisions. You want to make sound, investment moves based on data, not based on what I call consumer brain, where we see a cute house and we're thinking, oh my gosh, that's going to be the perfect place to welcome Sue and Bill. It's really, really important that you get plugged into resources so you know how to analyze a market, how to analyze a property, so that you feel good about making a decision whether or not you're moving forward or not, instead of hoping that it works out.
It's such a good point. In fact, I was actually, just all of a sudden got connected with another lady from your Facebook group, and we started chatting online last night. And she's got a few different properties. One of them, Southern Florida, near Miami, and another property, in a rural, remote area of Western North Carolina. And her comments to me was that rural cabin in Western North Carolina actually does a lot better than her one near Miami. And it's so interesting because, yes, you got to take a look at all the different factors when you're looking at investing, because, you may think like this one near the beach, and this is going to be like the top performer in your portfolio, when in actuality, it could be a more remote one where maybe there isn't as much competition, or it's a very niche market or something like that. So I love that. So if you were analyzing a new property, what would be the top 2 things you would be looking for these days?
For me, our investment criteria is based on cash return and payback period. Other people use different metrics, like, I'm looking for a specific cap rate, or I'm looking for cash flow. So I think, determining what your investment criteria is to begin with is really important. And number 2, not letting someone else tell you what your investment criteria should be, because everyone has their own unique goals and strategies for why they're investing in real estate. It's good to have advisors around you and people who can share helpful information, but I also think it's important to know yourself what you want to get out of your investment. I think the other thing to think about is, if you don't know what you want, again, get plugged into people who can help you figure that out and help you determine what considerations might be most important to you.
Right. It goes back to it being a business, running it like a business. If you're not running a hobby, you're not just like getting to play interior designer, which I know a lot of us love to do,
yeah.
But, does it all make sense? And is it going to work towards your return on investment? So if not, then you might want to rethink all of those decisions, but maybe not too, if it's just a place, because one of my clients, they purchased a place and have been, rehabbing it, getting ready to list, and finally have it listed. The motivation was more along the lines of, no, this is where my child is, going to college, and it's a place for us, to also spend time in. So there's all sorts of varying reasons why people get in and then why they make a purchase. So definitely agree.
And there's nothing wrong with, oh my goodness, I love traveling to this place and I want to own a property there, and I'm just looking for someone to help me offset the cost of owning that property. Straight up investor looking at numbers first and not having that personal reason. And again, there's no right or wrong, but just talking about it in advance and really determining what your goals are and your priorities is really, really informative and helpful, because your decisions become much easier when everything is aligned underneath that.
Hopefully everyone listening will be like, yes, Stacey.
They might be like, what's this broad talking about? Just give me a cute house.
So tell us maybe one fun fact about yourself that maybe people who've even been in your Facebook group maybe don't know about you.
Oh gosh. I probably have a couple of fun facts. Hard to pick just one. One fun fact is I sing in a barbershop quartet. I sing in an a cappella quartet. I sing competitively. So it's a very big part of my life. I absolutely love it. I had the good fortune back in 2009. I was in a quartet that won our worldwide competition, and we got to travel all over the place and perform and give music schools. But one fun thing that came out of that is I was a part of giving the world's largest singing lesson. And so I am actually in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Well, congrats.
You'll have to look up world's largest singing lesson. It's not under Stacey St.John. It's under Sweet Adeline's International and Moxie Ladies. That was the name of my quartet. And then another fun fact is I was on Wheel of Fortune, about 10 years ago now. So that was a really cool bucket list item.
Oh, I love that you were able to check that one off your bucket list. And I know you told me you sang, but I didn't realize it was like barbershop quartet type style. Very interesting. What part do you sing? Alto or soprano?
So in barbershop, there's lead, which sings the melody. I sing tenor, which is a harmony part above the melody. Okay. Bass is below the melody, and then baritone usually switches between the bass and the lead. I sing tenor.
Okay. Awesome. Very cool. There'll be people rushing now to look up the Stacey St.John barbershop quartet.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's going to break the internet.
But that would be a fun fact that people might not necessarily, know about you. So thank you for sharing that. You manage vacation rentals for other people.
That's correct.
But is there a certain market that's where you particularly manage? Tell us a little bit about that and why you started managing for others.
Have a property manager license in charge license from the state of South Carolina. So my market where my property management firm is located is in Myrtle Beach. I personally own 9 short-term rentals there. I got my property management license because people started coming to me saying, your calendar is full and mine is not. And would you be willing to manage my property? And, again, in the state of South Carolina, you do have to be licensed to do so. So I got my property management license in March of 2022. And so I've been helping others obviously manage their properties, and it's so fun, such a fun gift to be able to, again, have the opportunity to help owners with their real estate investments, but also be able to welcome guests, from all over the place. And then I also do co-hosting for people in my home market here in Cincinnati, as well as the secondary market where I own in Hocking Hills, Ohio.
Have you ever done rental arbitrage?
I have not done rental arbitrage. My personal investing strategy was to build a portfolio of assets that were appreciating in value. And I never really had, it sounds silly, the need to do rental arbitrage. I think a lot of people start out with rental arbitrage because there might be some cash crunch that they're trying to maybe avoid. It's a lower barrier to risk or a lower barrier to entry as far as cash required. So I've never done arbitrage myself. I have studied it quite a bit. And I actually teach people how to go about getting a rental arbitrage deal.
Yeah, I understand. I've looked at some deals myself and it just doesn't make as much. You got to go with what makes sense in my, strategy that I look into do. So what other things do you teach people on?
Inside the STR Success Accelerator, which is my mentoring and mastermind, we have pre-recorded modules that teach you really soup to nuts how to get started. So how do I even outline my goals and my buying criteria? How do I analyze a market? How do I set up my business? What kind of bank accounts do I need? How do I set up an operating agreement? All the fun back end stuff. Then once I'm ready to look at property, how do I analyze a deal once I've selected my market? What do I do once I get that property under contract? How can I most efficiently prepare for closing and prepare to be launching a short-term rental? How do I create a standout listing? How do I, have a property that performs well above the market? So creating a standout listing and designing and furnishing for that, as well as, your online listing. And then how do I operate this thing? There is so much in the day-to-day. So it's, how do we, operate a short-term rental business that operates like a well-oiled machine? So we're not, building the airplane as we're going down the runway. And then the last pieces of the online education is really about how do I know when I'm ready to grow? And then how do I operate at scale? Managing the day-to-day of 2 rentals is very different than managing the day-to-day of 20. And so you need different systems in place. So in a pre-recorded format, that is how my modules are broken out. But quite candidly, inside my program, as far as the accelerator program goes, we have 3 calls each and every week. And on those calls, we are talking about everything under the sun, meaning our mindset. How do I operate as an entrepreneur versus someone who maybe has just bought a property? And maybe I've had a job all my life and I don't know how to think like an entrepreneur. Kicking limiting beliefs to the curb. So how do I, kind of cage all of the fears that I have going on in my mind? How do I talk to my spouse about investing, and how do we have conversations around this and still want to snuggle up together at night? There are very real things that come into running a business. As women, we also have all these secondary kind of ancillary things that can be challenging at times. And so we really delve into both sides of that. I will share with you, I am not the expert on everything. I feel very blessed to, be surrounded by amazing women inside my program, and also that I bring in as guests to help train and bring education, because it's really, really important that I think we have connections where I feel like I'm a conduit of information. I share my experience. I think it's really important to get other people's perspectives as well.
Sure. I love that. Just the word conduit. From my perspective, being part of, the Facebook community that you have, that's really like what that community often serves as a conduit. And there's all sorts of connections being made, and listing help and website help and all those types of things. And it's not necessarily you performing all those things for people. Sometimes just connecting the people who need to be connected. So yeah, wonderful. So is there any question that I didn't ask you today that you would really love to make sure that you had the opportunity to talk about?
I think what you're doing is so wonderful. Congratulations on all of your work. I'm here to serve and help people in any way that I can. And, if there's anything that I can help anyone with, don't hesitate to reach out, and for you as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you being on, and I'm looking forward to, sharing more about you with the world, like YouTube, Instagram, anywhere that we can, and, working together in the future. So thank you again for your time.
Thanks so much.